Before the video, I just wanted to quickly talk about a community event going on right now called Kraken Week, where for the first week of July, me and a bunch of other awesome D&D content creators are all uploading ocean-themed videos. There's a lot of really cool people participating, and I'll have a pinned comment below linking to a playlist where you can find all of the Kraken Week videos, so go check them out after the story. But without further ado, let's get into it. In the depths of space, there's a planet that's tidally locked, always pointing towards the sun. One half of the planet is scorched by the never-setting sun, an endless wasteland devoid of life. Meanwhile, the other half of the planet is trapped in an eternal frozen night, a massive ocean covered in a thin sheet of ice, trapping countless unknown entities in the depths below. This is where our story takes place. The party had just landed their starship on a research facility deep inside the Dark Zone because they'd gotten a lead that one of the components of the dead machine god Sekrion was somewhere inside. However, the party weren't the only people here to hunt for this. One of their rivals, Rowan, had landed their ship here and was already inside. What if we just waited out here and ambushed him the moment he leaves? Where's your sense of adventure? We must stride forth into the unknown and confront whatever is awaiting us. Sorry, Needles, I'm with Traveler on this one. We don't know if this magic computer is gonna give him extra powers or something, so just to be safe, we've gotta get it first. And so the party ventured forth into the large elevator near the landing pad and began to descend, thousands of meters down, into the place known as the Abaca facility. The adventuring party for this session was made up of 3 characters. There was Needles, an android biohacker that was almost entirely made out of needles and looked like something out of your worst nightmares. Next up there was Traveler 13, an android bounty hunter traveling the stars to hunt down the biggest scores out there. And lastly we have Marv, a human technomancer who was one of the most proficient hackers in the Pact Worlds system. After a dozen minutes, the elevator slowed to a stop, and as the doors opened into the facility, the party immediately knew something was wrong. The entrance hall was entirely empty, and there was a smear of blood from the elevator doors towards one of the hallways that led further into the facility. The party began their investigation into the room, but they were interrupted as they heard a loud clanging noise echoing out from the vents. I know that I'm usually the person saying we should march forth into danger, but just this once I'm gonna say we should go the path that doesn't have the blood trail. The party entered into a long hallway made mostly of glass, allowing them to see out into the watery abyss that surrounded them. No light from the surface made it this far down, so the only visibility was from the small electric lights attached to the station, a thin slice cutting through the perfect darkness of the ocean. Did you see that? I think I saw something move out there. We've got bigger worries than that, Needles. The glass is cracked. We've got a time limit till this place is completely flooded. So let's get moving. Okay, but I really think I saw something out there in the water. The next room was a small, cramped dining hall, with the tables still covered in half-eaten meals. There was a storage closet on the north end of the room, and the walls were filled with scorch marks. However, most worrying was the eviscerated corpse lying on the floor near the entrance that led further into the facility. The party began to scout out the room, hoping to get any clue about where the thing they were looking for would be, but they were interrupted by another loud metallic clang that came from beyond the bloodstained door. Then another, and another, and another, each one getting closer and closer to the dining hall. The party sprinted towards the closet and hid inside, shutting the door tight behind them. The closet was small, and barely fit all 3 of them in it at once. There was only one entrance, so if the creature found them, they wouldn't have any way to escape. The party sat silent in the darkness, and listened carefully through the door. They heard the sound of heavy footsteps enter the dining hall, followed by a chittering noise. However, after many long minutes, the noises dissipated back towards the entrance hall. Not wanting to wait any longer, the party quickly fled the closet and rushed down the hallway further into the facility, where they entered into a massive laboratory. You two look around for anything useful. I'm gonna see if I can break into one of these computers. And Needles, please don't make a syringe bomb again. Look, the cultists were trying to destroy the ice cream parlor too. I wasn't the only one in the wrong there. Needles and Traveler 13 searched around the lab, and soon came across an elevator that would take them down to the next floor of the facility. They went back to tell Marv and found that he'd managed to hack into the computer and find the notes on whatever these researchers had been working on. Most of this stuff is redacted, but it looks like the creature doesn't need air, is incredibly strong to the point where it was able to break out of a steel holding cell, and also is immune to pretty much everything except for void rounds. So fighting it's not gonna be an option. Let's hope it doesn't know how to use elevators, cause we just found a way down to the bottom floor of the facility. The party went down through the elevator, and after making their way through a secondary lab, they found a small security room. There was a cramped, dilapidated desk pushed into the corner, and resting atop it was an old computer display that showed all of the cameras in the facility. Marv started to search through the cameras, while the rest of the party noticed the 2 security gates attached to their room. One was connected to the only door, and the other was connected to the massive vent directly above the computer display. However, as a security feature or something, only one of these gates could be closed at a time, for some reason, I guess. Regardless, Needles closed the one on the door and went over to look on the computer screen next to Marv. Have you found the creature yet? It's still upstairs, right? Needles, you're one of the most terrifying people I've ever met in my entire life. Why the hells are you so freaked out by literally everything? And no, I haven't seen it yet. Of course, that doesn't mean much because half of these cameras are broken for some reason. Oh, Triune, it's learning. We should just leave right now. We can just pack up and go. Or maybe Rowan broke the cameras so he didn't get recorded while robbing this place, alright? You've gotta chill out here. Then, a drop of blood fell onto the computer screen from above. The party looked up and saw a large, dark insectoid creature in the vent, looking directly at them. Marv closed the vent security gate, which caused the other one to slide open, and the party fled out into the lab. Behind them was the sound of the creature ripping its way through the steel security gate. The party ran further into the facility, barely looking where they were going, until they arrived in the medical bay. They all hid underneath the tables right before the creature got into the room. It was a tall, almost crab-like entity, with a thick, defensive carapace and 2 large claws emanating from its sides. It had half a dozen eyes buried in its head, right above a toothy, blood-stained jaw. However, this wasn't the last of the party's worries, because as they were laying on the ground, they noticed that the thin layer of water covering it was slowly rising. The building was quietly flooding, and they hadn't even noticed. After a minute of looking around, the creature turned to leave back into the lab. However, then Needle's phone rang, and for some reason it immediately picked up. Appearing on the screen was a Yosoki with a massive red eye taking up half of his face. This was the party's best friend and archenemy, Nith. Hey guys, I noticed that you fled the planet recently. I just thought we were planning to meet up again before you left. Needles quickly hung up the phone, but it was too late. The creature had heard them. It turned back towards the party as they got out of their hiding spots and started to run towards the next room. Needles dropped a small item behind them as they ran, and an explosion detonated in the center of the medbay as the room was filled with syringes. It stunned it for just long enough for the party to get into the next room and press a large button that closed an adamantine door in the hallway. So I know y'all said I wasn't supposed to make any more syringe bombs, but there were just so many of them lying around, so I couldn't help myself. I don't really care about that. I'm more interested in how the hell did that thing actually damage the creature? Isn't it immune to basically everything? Oh yeah, they were void syringes. What the hell are void syringes? Syringes, but full of void. What does that mean? Oh, Triune, it's you 3 again. Why do you people keep following me? Because it's easier than tracking down the components ourselves, though this time it may seem that we have a common enemy. How about we team up for the moment, and once we've gotten out of this nightmarish facility, we go back to fighting each other. Deal? Sure, why not? The component should be in the next room, inside of the submarine. However, there's been a complication. Rowan led the party into the submarine bay, and they saw that the sub was missing. Instead, it was resting in the dark water beneath the station, connected to the facility by a long, thin cable. Oh no, we are not going down there, right? Of course we are, but look on the bright side. The submarine is outside the facility and the monster is inside the facility, so get your diving suit on. I believe it is time for us to take a little swim. Soon the party was all ready to go diving, however, as they prepared to jump into the water, Traveler quietly cut a small hole in the back of Rowan's suit. Then a few seconds later they dropped into the Stygian Abyss beneath the facility. The thin headlamps on the diving suits barely cut a sliver through the stifling darkness that surrounded them, and there was no ground in sight, just an endless, empty void. The party heard Rowan start choking on water over the diving suit comms, and he started to swim back up towards the structure, but Traveler grabbed onto his leg and held him in the water until Rowan's life had drained from his body. Well, that's one problem dealt with. Now let's grab that computer. The party sank down towards the submarine that was floating beneath them, and as they got closer they noticed the hull had been ripped open from the outside, which the party quickly swam past and began searching through the wreckage. Soon the party found it, a large chunk of a computer sitting in the back of the submarine, undamaged by both the water and whatever creature had destroyed everything else. Marv grabbed a hold of it and the party started to swim back up towards the station, but then, at the edges of their vision, they noticed something else. 3 bright green eyes looked up at the party from the depths below, and attached to them was an entity larger than the party had ever seen before. A gargantuan leviathan, a sea serpent so large that only a small portion of it was seen by the party at a time, and the rest of the body was hidden in the sunless depths of the ocean. The party fled up towards the facility as the Leviathan surged towards them. They made it back into the submarine bay and fled into the robotics wing before the serpent reached the structure. The party heard the sound of rending metal and surging water behind them as the creature ripped out the entire submarine bay and the facility began to flood. They wasted no time in fleeing back up towards the exit elevator as the Leviathan ripped through the facility, and after a few tense dice rolls, they'd made it. The calm elevator music played around them as the party slowly rose out of the depths with their treasure in hand, away from both the lab experiment and the Leviathan. They'd done it. They'd survived. Relief flowed through them as they prepared for their next adventure, having no idea that they were mere weeks away from one of them turning into a god, while still at level 3. However, that's gonna have to wait until a future episode, so don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss that when it gets uploaded, and also go check out some of the other people who've participated in Kraken Week. Stephanie Plays Games uploaded a super cool video about aquatic plot hooks to steal for your games, so that's the one I'd recommend watching first, but there are tons of awesome creators participating in this, so go check them out. Either way, I'll see you in the next video.